Hello everyone, I cordially welcome you all to another video from the React tutorial series, and in this video we are going to discuss on the useReducer hook in React. So without any delay, let's get started. So what are useReducer hook in React? In quite a few aspects, the useReducer hook can be said a more complex version of the useState hook. This hook is used to manage the state of the application. The useReducer hook uses the same concept as the reducers in Redux. Firstly, we have to import the useReducer hook from React. The useReducer hook accepts two arguments. The first one is the reducer, which contains the custom state logic, and the second argument is the initial state of the component. The useReducer hook returns the current state and dispatch method. So where do we use the useReducer hook? So the useReducer hook can be said a more complex version of the useState hook. So where you need to have multiple type of update methods according to which you will update your local state or maybe the global application state, you can make use of this useReducer hook. Okay. So remember, it accepts two arguments. The first one is the reducer, which contains the custom state logic, and the second argument is the initial state of the component. Now here I have mentioned the concept of useReducer hook is lot like the reducers in Redux, but here we will not discuss about Redux as that is outside the scope of this video. So let's go to the code and understand how we use the useReducer hook in React to achieve our goal. Welcome to VS Code. Now we are going to understand how we implement the useReducer hook in React. Okay. So firstly, we have created a file useReducerhook.tsx, and within it we have defined our counter component. So if you have watched our previous videos, you already know we implemented this same counter component using the useState hook. So if you have not watched the video, you can go back to few of the videos and you can watch it. So let's understand how we are implementing it. Firstly, we have imported this useReducer hook from React. Thereafter, we have defined an interface. The name of this interface is iCounter. It contains a property counter which will be of type number. Thereafter, we have defined our initial state. So by initial state, you can understand this is basically the initial setup of the state when the component mounts. The const initial state is of type iCounter and it default sets the value of count property to 0. So initially when the component mounts, the value of this count within the state variable will be 0. Okay. Thereafter, we have defined our reducer function. So here we need to understand a lot of things. Firstly, this reducer should accept two things. One is the state and another is action. Basically, you might ask what are actions. So as of now, you can say actions basically tell your reducers what kind of verbs it should perform. So here we have taken state and action as arguments. Let's proceed and understand how this action works. So here you can see I have used switch action.type. So every action which is generated will have a type. Okay. So if in case this action.type is increment, we will return the count value and make it state.count. That is the previous value of count in state plus 1. And we will return this object. If it is decrement, we will return count is state.count minus 1. That is the previous state variable minus 1. And if it is default, we will simply return the state.count. That is the previous count value. Now here you might have two questions. So one, why we are using switch here? So my reason of using switch here, because as of now you can see only increment and decrement, but depending on your use case in real production grade application, there may be multiple cases, and according to that you have to handle what data is returned. Secondly, you might ask, why I am not doing state.count equal to state.count plus 1. Why we are not mutating the state value, rather returning a new object. So always remember, when you write reducers, they have to be pure. They always should return a new state object. Basically within the reducers, when you write such cases, never ever mutate the state object directly. Always remember, a good reducer should consume an action, take the initial state, work on the initial state and return a new state. It must never update or mutate the state which it receives as an argument. Okay. Finally, within our counter component, we make use of this useReducer hook. So this useReducer hook basically takes this reducer function which we have defined over here and the initial state. and it returns two things. One is the state variable, that is the current updated state, and one is a dispatch method to dispatch any action. This might seem quite like the setter method which is returned by the useState hook, but it is more versatile and dynamic. Within our JSX, we are showing the current count value, that is state.count, because our initial state basically is the state, so state has a count property. So here we are showing state.count. Thereafter we have two buttons, increment and decrement, and on clicking it, I am dispatching an action which will be of type increment, and on clicking decrement, I am dispatching an action which will be of type decrement. So basically what happens when you click on the button, it dispatches an action which is of type increment. When this is dispatched, this goes to the reducer. So reducer is basically the action maker. It takes in the state and the action which it receives. Now if we click on decrement, so type is decrement. So it will come here, case decrement. It will do return count equal to state.count -1. So it will take in the previous count value in the state. It will subtract 1 from it as it is decrementing, and then it will return the new state. And this new state will be returned to the state variable. And finally, what count value we will see in this JSX will get updated. Finally, we have exported our counter component. And within our parent component app.tsx, we have imported the counter component. So let's run our code and see if it is working properly. We will go to the terminal and write npm start. Let's wait for some time until our application starts. So here our application has started, and now if everything works perfectly, when we will click on this increment button, the count value should increase by 1. And when we will click on decrement button, it should decrease by 1. So let's see if it is working. So on clicking this button, the value is increasing by 1. Okay. As many times as I click, it is increasing. And when I click on this decrement button, the value is decreasing by 1. So basically our flow from on-click event to dispatching action, from consuming action, taking a step and returning new state data is working absolutely fine. Okay. Let's go back to our slide. I hope you found this video informative. In case you like the video, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We are going to bring more videos in the future. For any queries, doubts, suggestions or feedbacks, feel free to post them in the comment section. We are going to reply. So thank you for now. See you in the next video. Bye.